Hey everybody, welcome back to Adventures in Pop Culture. We're still here in Russellville, Alabama with the good friend Will Stoltz. How are you, Will?
What's up?
And we're going to talk more about some of your awesome and amazing wrestling stuff.
Yeah, big wrestling guy.
This time it's all focused on like the physical memorabilia.
Yeah, more collectibles, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff that's still really cool to come across. It's not as well known, It's harder to find wrestling stuff, it seems.
Especially vintage.
Vintage wrestling stuff. New wrestling stuff is everywhere.
Yeah. There's a huge market.
Yeah.
For people collecting. How long do you think you've been collecting wrestling stuff?
Since I was a kid. A couple of these figures are from when I was a child. It's one of those things that's like in your 20s you get confused and try to pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And I got rid of a bunch of my wrestling stuff. I didn't watch wrestling for about 9 years maybe. And
I did. Yeah.
Having Dalton, I'd quit watching it. He was 3 or 4, and we just happened to be flipping through it. He just loved it.
Yeah.
And it got me right back into it. So he's 11 now, so another 7 years probably.
Nice. I did that with origami.
Now, yeah?
I'm finally starting to really embrace it.
Big market for origami.
Yeah. Paper's everywhere.
Sit on a gold mine.
Yeah.
Digital origami, that's the future.
Well, that makes sense. Do you want to go first or me?
Yeah, I'll start off by talking. I know you guys talk about your most famous hauls.
Yeah.
And I had the hugest wrestling haul.
No kidding.
So story time. My wife, when we first got married, had taken all my wrestling stuff. I had it on a very nice shelf in our hallway for all our guests to see. Didn't really fit with her decor, so she had taken all that stuff and taken it to her parents, put it in the shed. Got lost somehow, just came up missing, or she might have just took it to the dump. I don't know. So I messed with her for years about doing that to me. So she calls one day and says, there's a huge lot of wrestling stuff on Facebook, and contacts these people. We go meet them. This lady opens up the back of her car, like a SUV, literally full of wrestling stuff.
Wow.
And I said, would you take $50 for all this? And she looked at her husband and he nodded, and then I got all of it.
Holy cow.
And it goes back forever. So,
I mean, did they not even just Google search any of it?
No, and it's one of those things where there's probably a guy just like I was missing my wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
I probably did that to somebody else.
Yeah.
There's like a guy that came home from college or Iraq or something, and his wrestling stuff was gone.
It's like the end of High Fidelity, but you could jump on it.
I got it. That's all that matters to Willie. Because I got Macho Man, Randy Savage, Wrestling Buddy. This is from the WCW run. NWO.
Oh, yeah.
Randy Savage. These things are hard to come by.
I bet. I never see them. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever seen one for sale.
Yeah, kind of like a limited run thing. Then she had, we're talking wrestling figures from the big 80s WWF figures to the small WCW figures. And then, this is the thing,
That's nuts.
this is in my wheelhouse. Direct childhood with a collector's case. This is when I was absolutely obsessed with wrestling.
You had that case?
I never had the case. That's the great thing. It was full of things that I always wanted.
Man.
And I don't know, just countless. We have a large 8-person dining room table. We tried to take a picture of it all, set them all up, just to get a picture, and it covered up the table at least.
It's just stuff to the brim with these
Undertaker.
things.
Yeah, and this is just a small sample, and I've got a couple more boxes
Like 1990 type.
around here. Yes, I mean, now this is the Hasbro, right? I think it's Hasbro who made the original.
Yeah,
WWF
yeah,
guys.
yeah. Look at that Taker
It's so cool.
with the red hair and the
when he
swinging
was
action.
young.
Man, that is cool.
I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And Jason was asking, I think that this Macho Man survived and is actually genuinely from my actual childhood, because I had a couple of them left. And
Two different Ted DiBiase.
this Ted DiBiase is from my childhood. This alternative costume one came with a lot. So I could go on and on about that haul, but it was just like one of those days you dream of as a collector of things.
That is awesome. Now I'm going to go for the next one, and I'm cherry picking because I really want to talk about it. You have the Hulk Hogan lunchbox.
Yes.
Which I desperately want to get this. And, I mean, it's so awesome. It's just, usually when you see this in a store, it's one of those that they price pretty high, like
Yeah.
$20 and up.
And as
So
bad
that's
as
so
you want
cool.
that, it will kill you to know that
Go
that
on.
was given to me by Jason LaPlante.
Oh, well, that doesn't kill me because we care a lot about you, us LaPlante boys.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just sad that Jason loved me more than his own brother and gave me this.
To be fair, it was before I even started collecting.
Yeah, this would have been 4 or 5 years ago when Jason came down to Alabama.
Yeah.
And inside the rattling noise you're hearing, something y'all have talked about earlier on the show.
A couple weeks ago.
Original run of the Ultimate Muscle.
That's so cool.
Guys. And some of these are worth money. And now, I don't look up how much my stuff is worth typically. Just because I almost don't want to know sometimes. Because, one, I like the idea of thinking, like, this is probably worth $100.
Yeah.
And not knowing that it isn't.
Yeah.
And then I also don't like the idea of knowing something's worth a lot. Because I would be tempted to sell it and buy something stupid.
I hear you. I hear you.
But those little guys are great.
Oh, they are awesome.
And then more along the lines of adventures in pop culture. While Jason and Jeff have been down, we've hit up America's Thrift Store in several different cities because they're across Alabama. I got this for $1 at America's Thrift Store last time we were in Jasper. This is Hogan and Flair, The Cage Revenge, WCW 1994 Halloween Havoc.
That is awesome.
That was the dream match for years, you know.
I loved their Halloween Havocs because they would always introduce, or at least for some of the years, introduce crazy characters like the Mummy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, WCW, for some reason, I don't know if they weren't as popular, and it is incredibly rare to come across WCW VHS.
Yeah, and it seems incredibly rare to come across WWF VHS, especially of pay-per-views. Like any pay-per-view wrestling tape seems really hard to come across.
And I think the reason for that is because I know tons of wrestling fans that have a lot of the pay-per-views on VHS.
Oh, really?
They just don't get rid of them. The people that
that
bought
makes
this,
sense.
it's still like mine sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. Now, I know you just picked this one up yesterday, and it's very festive.
You can't see Christmas at the Stoltz household.
And Christmas is coming up.
John Cena's going right on the tree.
John Cena Ornament. And it's pretty well detailed. You got him in his nice jorts.
Yeah.
This is from 2007.
Yeah.
I love that.
They got this at What's On Second in Birmingham while these guys were down. Just picked this up.
That store is really cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a really cool place. If you're ever in Birmingham, Alabama, look up What's On Second.
And remember, hustle, loyalty, respect,
and jingle bells.
And jingle bells.
As well, this was in What's On Second. Jason's been so nice to me this week, and we bought each other a couple things that we wouldn't buy for ourselves.
It's been adorable.
Jason saw me in agony over whether or not to buy this because it is kind of pricey. I said on our earlier video, I kind of have a rule about not spending over $10.
Yeah, me and Jason have that rule a lot of the times too.
Because if you love something and you don't place like a limit, you can just get crazy with stuff.
Oh yeah.
But this is $20. This is Jack's 1996 mid 90s WWF stuff, and it's Vader, Leon White. And for those of you that are not wrestling fans, Leon White has a heart condition. He probably has like 2 years left. He's been pretty open about his limited time. And what I love about this and love about Jason buying me this is this would be the time when we first got into wrestling and buying stuff back in Nebraska City. Mm-hmm. And I remember we went to Nebraska City one time. We went to Alco. Me, Jason, and Brian Shaw. We bought a bunch of stuff from this era. And then we went and ate Valentino's. And we had spent all our money on WWF stuff and pizza. And then we got back to the car and realized we were almost out of gas. And so we had to go back to Alco and return some of our wrestling stuff.
Oh, no.
And you had to fill out a return slip.
This is heartbreaking.
You had to fill out a return slip, and it was like reason for returning. And we put out of gas money.
Oh, man. I've never heard that story. That's awesome. So I'm going to go for these down here. You've got some awesome wrestling comic books. You got the Stone Cold Steve Austin comic book. You've got the Undertaker comic book, and he looks so sinister right there.
Yes.
And then you got China comic book, and they skipped having her animated and just went for an actual picture of her. I gotta tell you, that's pretty sexy photo of China.
Yeah.
It's doing it for me.
And those are Chaos Comics, and I got these at a flea market and the shows that they have once a month, and they've made several runs of wrestling comics.
Oh yeah, I think they're still making them.
They still make WWE comics, and there's an early '90s like vintage WCW that's really hard to come by.
Really?
And so anytime I see just rows and rows of comics, I always ask the guy, "Do you have any wrestling comics?" Hoping for the WCW.
Yeah.
And they never do, but every once in a while they'll say, "I have a China one."
Really?
And so that guy that day dug up those three, and I got them.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
dirt cheap. I think those were like 50 cents a piece. Or
That's fantastic. I love it.
Along those lines, I got one of these at that same flea market. This is Wrestling Superstars, 1990. Wrestling's Sexiest Superstar Revealed.
Wow.
Miss Elizabeth, Lex Luger, Warrior, Sting, and Missy Hyatt. Jason, Wrestling's Sexiest Superstar, Miss Elizabeth or Sting? Tough call for Jason.
Which, Surfer Sting or Crow Sting?
Crow Sting.
Miss Elizabeth, but it's
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, if I'd have said Surfer, who knows what would have happened.
You don't
But
wanna
these things are so cool. This is from the time where it still hadn't been told to everybody that wrestling was a rigged job of sports entertainment. And so you would get these magazines when you were a kid, and people would tell you that, and these magazines, they covered it all as if it was real.
Yeah.
So you would study this thing, and like just reading it, you would think, well, there's no way that grown men are analyzing something that's like so fake,
And that was even of the era when even when they weren't being filmed and they were just out in public, they still knew that they had to act that way.
Yeah, if back in the day, if you were a wrestler and you did anything to expose the business, you were fired. Like if you were in a bar and a guy started talking to you about wrestling being fake, you were expected to just beat the tar out of him. And if you lost the fight, you were fired because you were discrediting the business.
Wow.
You're supposed to be the toughest guys there are.
That is incredible. Up next, we got another action figure. It is from Hollywood Hogan's NWO run, and it's WCW Monday Nitro Hollywood Hogan. And what I love so much about this is down below it says heels.
Yeah, just to make sure we know which side we're on.
Yeah. Man, that is awesome.
That was $2 at the Great Escape in Nashville, and I just love that thing.
That was $2?
$2.
Wow.
And Hollywood Hogan, my favorite heel of all time. Hulk Hogan is my favorite wrestler of all time. Hulk Hogan carried the WWF through the 80s as a good guy.
Oh, yeah.
Jumped to WCW, went bad guy, and carried them through the 90s.
Absolutely.
The only wrestler to do that, to be successful as a face and a heel and carry two different companies,
Oh, yeah.
And I just love that thing.
Right now, he's definitely on a hiatus due to behavior.
Got a little racist in his old age.
Yeah. I bet he shows up again.
I'm blaming CTE. That wrestlers can get away with anything if it's CTE. The problem is Hogan didn't take a lot of bumps.
Yeah.
If Hogan had one concussion, I'd kind of be shocked.
Yeah. No kidding.
And this is cool. I got a couple of these luchador masks, and I can't remember. This was just like $1 or $2. And my brother went to Mexico on a cruise, and they sell elaborate luchador masks for like $1 a piece, all over the place.
Even like the leather embroidered.
Yes,
type?
but
Wow.
just because the exchange of currency and stuff, and it's such a touristy thing, And we've had a lot of fun wrestling around, trampoline matches with Dalton, and I've got a go-to Halloween costume,
That's awesome. That is really cool. I'm going to go with, we have WCW NWO 3 collectible 3D cards. You got Macho Man, Randy Savage, Goldberg, and Sting. And I believe they call that a venecticle.
Is that what it is?
Lenticular.
Lenticular.
Yeah.
I wasn't
you guys
even
knew that
close.
word.
I wasn't even close. Hopefully that's showing up. That is awesome. Really, really cool.
Never to be opened. This little Ziploc bag. This is from actually WrestleMania 30. That's close enough in New Orleans. It's about a 4-hour drive from here. So we were able to be there the night that Daniel Bryan won the championship in the Superdome. 78,000 people.
Man.
Taker's first loss at WrestleMania to Brock Lesnar. And so,
Holy cow. That's
just-
quite the pay-per-view to be at.
it was amazing. The feeling of Undertaker getting pinned and being there with 78,000 shocked people, it was an overwhelming feeling.
I bet it was.
But at the end of the night, you know, confetti fell from the ceiling when Daniel Bryan won. So I saved some of the confetti to
That
go along
is
with the ticket.
awesome.
Yeah, really cool night and just a really cool thing to have.
That is really cool. I've never seen that, the confetti before.
Yeah. And New Orleans this year, Mania's coming back to the Superdome. It's been 4 years.
Wow.
And man, like for people that aren't into wrestling, if you just want to see a spectacle sometimes, we got those tickets for $35 like last minute.
Wow.
Because they're trying to fill a 78,000 seat
yeah.
venue, you know. And so, not the best seats in the world, but just to be there amongst
Just to be
that,
there.
it was amazing.
That's awesome. So, along the same line as those almost tabloids that you showed of wrestling, wrestling used to be big enough that you could also get the Wrestling Digest. And this is Wrestling Illustrated.
PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Boy, that's cool.
This is the thing that they do, I believe, the top 500 wrestlers every year. And it's a big deal as to, you know, who gets ranked number one.
And here's Inside Wrestling Digest with Owen Hart on the inside. Is this after he died?
I think so.
So it's a special look at a special man.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I mean, sadly, I can't see him getting the cover without.
Yeah,
That happened,
that's
you know.
definitely true. Yeah.
Last but not least, another present from Mr. Jason LaPlante to me.
Boy, he's sweet on you.
I don't know if he's sweet on me or just hates Hulk Hogan. He's just like, I'm going to give this to Will. I'm going to give this to Will. But this is Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band, including Hulksters in the House, American Made, Hulksters Back, Bad to the Bone, I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac, Hulk's the One, Hulkster in Heaven, which I believe is a tribute to one of Hulk's fallen young fans that passed away young. And the album closes with Hulk Rules.
I think we listened to this, and I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac is like actually a little slower.
Oh, it's like a tender ballad.
Yeah.
But just more the same. It's like impossible to understate how big Hulk Hogan was in our childhood.
Oh, absolutely. Just as part of the 80s and 90s, it's hard to understate how huge he was.
And I was telling Jason, we were talking about how big Hulk Hogan was, and it's weird the things you remember from childhood, but I remember one time that I got in like really bad trouble for something, and Dad was mad at me, you know, and I ran off, and I was like 7, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember praying and was like, God, make Hulk Hogan my dad.
Oh, man.
And
That's
now,
classic.
the way that Hulk Hogan's children have turned out, you know,
Oh,
couldn't have went any better for me to have Carter Stoltz as my dad.
Yeah, you've done great.
One more thing that's here behind us, has been on the videos all
good
week.
Call.
This flag is awesome. This is WCW NWO Giant Where the Big Boys Play flag, and I picked this thing up for $5.
It's from 1998.
Yeah, and it's just so cool.
It is
I don't
cool.
know if anybody's noticed during these Alabama videos, Paul White's big mug behind him, but that thing is cool to have.
Yeah, definitely cool. Well, thanks so much for being on another video with us, Will.
It's been so much
been a
fun
pleasure.
all
Yeah.
week.
Oh, it really has been. Yeah, it's been fun finding stuff with you.
Good videos. Me and Jeff didn't have to eat anything nasty or
Yeah, we didn't.
yell at each other.
We just got to enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, we're just pleasant.
Yeah.
We've played games together all week. No yelling.
Yeah.
No trash talking.
Leave it in the comment below who has a bigger beard. We can handle it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Better. Did I say bigger or better?
But it's the same thing.
Yeah, same
Bigger
thing.
is better.
Yeah. Ooh. All right, bring it in.
Too sweet.
Two brothers in Nebraska, pop culture's what they love. Join them as they talk about all of their cool stuff. Adventures in pop culture.
Oh, I do not like spicy food. Could not do it, bro.